What if the things you assume billionaires splurge on are actually the very expenses they never touch? The truth about how the ultra-wealthy protect their fortunes is stranger than any luxury catalog. You've probably seen headlines about yachts that cost more than a small country, private jets that could rival commercial airlines, and watches that sell for the price of a house. Those images stick in the mind, shaping a picture of endless extravagance. Yet research into the spending habits of high-net-worth individuals tells a different story. Studies from wealth management firms, surveys of millionaires, and the financial disclosures of public billionaires reveal a pattern of disciplined restraint. They are not reckless spenders, they are strategic custodians of capital. Understanding this mindset uncovers 5 categories of expense that the rich almost never waste money on, and why those choices matter for anyone who wants to build lasting wealth. Imagine a room full of people with more cash than most countries' GDPs. Now picture them all reaching for the same flashy items you see on Instagram. The reality is that the majority of them pause, calculate, and often walk away. It's not that they can't afford the latest hype. It's that the cost of a mistake in those areas is measured not in dollars, but in opportunity. The next few minutes will peel back the curtain on those hidden rules, showing you how the wealthy turn every dollar into a lever rather than a liability. First, let's talk about the car. The image of a billionaire cruising in a custom-painted, limited edition supercar is iconic. Yet the data tells a surprising story. The average billionaire spends less than 1% of their net worth on personal transportation. In fact, a 2022 survey of 1,500 ultra-high net worth individuals found that 73% own at most 2 cars, and most of those are practical models rather than showpieces. Why? Because a car depreciates the instant it leaves the showroom. A $2 million hypercar can lose half its value within a year, while the owner still has to pay insurance, maintenance, and storage. Take the case of a tech mogul who purchased a $1.5 million limited-run vehicle, only to sell it a month later at a 30% loss after realizing the cost of specialized servicing was eating into his cash flow. He later explained that the purchase was a publicity experiment that didn't align with his long-term financial goals. The lesson here isn't about avoiding luxury. It's about recognizing that the utility of an expensive car is fleeting. For most high-net-worth individuals, the optimal approach is to lease a high-performance vehicle for a short term, then trade it in before depreciation spikes. Even more telling is the way the wealthy allocate transportation budgets to experiences rather than possessions. A study from a leading wealth advisory firm showed that 62% of millionaires prefer to spend on travel experiences that can be shared with family, rather than on owning a fleet of exotic cars. The reasoning is simple. Experiences create intangible value, while cars are a liability on the balance sheet. So while the world sees a glossy photo of a billionaire stepping out of a sleek sports car, the underlying financial strategy often involves minimal ownership and maximum flexibility. Next, let's examine the tech gadget arena, a playground where trends change faster than the blink of an eye. You might think that people with limitless resources would upgrade to the newest smartphone every year or hoard the latest virtual reality headset. The reality is that the rich are remarkably frugal with consumable tech. A 2021 report from a global wealth management firm revealed that only 12% of billionaires upgrade their smartphones more than once a year, and the average upgrade cycle sits at 3.5 years. Why such restraint? Because the marginal benefit of the newest processor or camera is negligible for someone whose daily decisions aren't dictated by the latest app. Moreover, the cost of constantly buying the newest device adds up quickly, especially when you factor in the hidden expenses, premium warranties, insurance, and the environmental cost of e-waste. One notable example comes from a hedge fund manager who kept a 2015 smartphone in his pocket for 7 years, simply because it performed all his essential functions. When a colleague asked why he didn't upgrade, he replied, "I'm paying a team to manage my portfolio. I don't need my phone to be a status symbol." The pattern extends to larger tech investments as well. Many wealthy families maintain a single, high-end home theater system that they upgrade only when the technology becomes obsolete, not every season. They also favor leasing high-cost equipment for short-term projects rather than purchasing outright. This approach reduces depreciation risk and keeps cash free for higher return investments. Now onto a category that seems paradoxical: designer clothing. The cultural narrative tells us that the rich are constantly dressed in bespoke suits, limited edition sneakers, and hand-stitched gowns. Yet research shows that the average high-net-worth individual spends a fraction of their discretionary income on high fashion. A 2023 survey of 2,300 affluent respondents found that only 8% allocate more than 5% of their annual discretionary budget to luxury apparel. The majority prefer classic, timeless pieces that can be mixed and matched, often buying them second-hand or from outlet stores that offer the same quality at a reduced price. Consider the story of a billionaire venture capitalist who built a wardrobe of 50 suits, all of which were purchased during sales or from a trusted tailor who offered a bulk discount. He never chased the latest runway trend. When asked about his clothing philosophy, he explained, "I spend my money on assets that appreciate, not on fabrics that depreciate." This mindset extends beyond suits. Even the most exclusive sneaker drops, which can fetch resale prices in the six figures, are largely ignored by the ultra-wealthy. They view the hype cycle as a speculative bubble, not a reliable store of value. The psychological component also matters. Wearing expensive clothing can signal wealth, but it also creates an expectation to maintain the image constantly, leading to a spiral of ever-increasing spend. By keeping their wardrobes simple and functional, the rich avoid the trap of status inflation, where each new purchase simply raises the baseline for what is considered acceptable. This restraint frees up capital for investments that generate compound returns. The fourth category that the affluent rarely waste money on is extravagant vacations that scream opulence, but deliver limited personal value. The common image of a billionaire lounging on a private island, surrounded by a staff of chefs, is compelling, yet the data paints a different picture. A 2020 analysis of travel expenses among high-net-worth individuals showed that the average billionaire spends less than $150,000 per year on leisure travel, a figure that is modest compared to their total net worth. More importantly, they prioritize experiences that align with personal growth, networking, or cultural enrichment over sheer extravagance. Take the example of a self-made tech entrepreneur who chose to spend a month in a remote village in Bhutan, learning traditional weaving techniques, rather than booking a week in a five-star resort in the Maldives. He later said that the immersive experience gave him fresh perspectives that influenced his next product line. The return on that investment was not measured in Instagram likes, but in creative insight and mental rejuvenation. Another pattern is the strategic use of workations. Wealthy individuals often combine business with travel, staying in upscale, but functional accommodations that allow them to stay productive while still enjoying a new environment. This hybrid approach maximizes the utility of each dollar spent, turning vacation time into an extension of their professional network. A survey of 800 CEOs found that 57% preferred destinations with strong business ecosystems, such as Singapore or Zurich, over isolated luxury resorts. Even when they do indulge in high-end travel, the rich tend to negotiate private jet contracts that charge per flight hour, not per seat. They often own fractional interests in aircraft, sharing costs with other high-net-worth owners, thereby reducing the per-trip expense dramatically. The underlying principle remains the same. Every dollar must earn a return, whether that return is financial, intellectual, or relational. Finally, let's explore the realm of high-interest debt and credit card fees, a category that most people associate with the financially insecure, not the affluent. Yet the wealthy are acutely aware of the drag that even a small percentage of interest can have on a massive balance. A 2021 study from a leading private bank revealed that 92% of millionaires carry zero credit card balances month to month, and 84% avoid any form of high-interest borrowing. The reasoning is simple. When you have a net worth of $50 million, a 15% interest charge on a $500,000 line of credit costs $75,000 a year, money that could have been invested in assets earning 6% or more. Moreover, the psychological burden of debt can influence decision-making, leading to more conservative risk profiles. By keeping their debt load minimal, the wealthy preserve both capital and mental clarity. One striking example comes from a real estate magnate who, despite having the option to finance a $20 million property purchase at a 4% rate, chose to pay cash. He explained that the opportunity cost of tying up $20 million in debt, even at a relatively low rate, was higher than the potential returns from his other investments, which were averaging 10% annually. The decision saved him $800,000 in interest each year and kept his balance sheet clean, enabling quicker deployment of capital when new opportunities arose. Even everyday financial tools like credit cards are treated with surgical precision. High-net-worth individuals often use premium cards that offer travel rewards, but they pay the balance in full each month to avoid interest. They also negotiate lower fees and higher credit limits, turning the card into a flexible cash flow tool rather than a source of debt. This disciplined approach to borrowing underscores a broader philosophy. Waste is not just about frivolous purchases, but also about the hidden costs that erode wealth over time. These 5 patterns: minimal spending on depreciating vehicles, restrained tech upgrades, modest designer apparel budgets, purpose-driven travel, and avoidance of high-interest debt form a cohesive strategy that the rich employ to protect and grow their fortunes. The common thread is a relentless focus on value creation versus consumption. Now, here's a twist that often catches people off guard. The richest individuals actually spend a disproportionate amount of money on one thing: they never waste time. They invest heavily in personal productivity tools, elite coaching, health optimization, and time-saving services. A 2022 analysis of expense reports from top CEOs showed that they allocate roughly 2% of their annual budget to services that free up their schedule, such as private chefs, personal assistants, and concierge medical care. Think about it. If a billionaire can shave 5 hours a week off administrative tasks, that translates into thousands of hours over a lifetime, each hour potentially worth millions of dollars in strategic decision-making. In contrast, the money saved by skipping $200,000 yacht is negligible when measured against the value of the additional time gained. This paradox reveals that the true waste the rich avoid isn't just about material goods. It's about anything that doesn't amplify their capacity to create value. So what does this mean for you? It isn't a call to hoard every penny or to avoid all indulgence. It's an invitation to scrutinize every expense through the lens of return on investment, be it financial, intellectual, or temporal. Ask yourself, does this purchase preserve or erode my future options? Does it generate a ripple effect that compounds over time? Consider a scenario where you're tempted to buy the latest smartwatch for $600. If the device helps you track health metrics that lead to better fitness, reducing future medical costs, the purchase could be justified. However, if it's merely a status symbol, the money could be redirected toward a low-cost index fund that compounds at 7% annually, yielding substantially more value over decades. The patterns we've explored demonstrate that wealth preservation isn't about abstaining from all luxury. It's about strategic allocation. The affluent treat every dollar as a lever, not a weight. They eliminate waste by focusing on assets that appreciate, experiences that enrich, and services that multiply their time. Reflect on your own spending habits. Which of these 5 categories might be draining resources without delivering proportional value? Which expense could be reframed as an investment in your future? Think about the next time you consider an expensive impulse. Visualize the long-term impact, not just the immediate thrill. How would your financial landscape change if you applied the same disciplined mindset that the ultra-wealthy use to guard their fortunes? The answer may surprise you, and the journey towards smarter spending starts with a single, intentional question. What's the one expense you could eliminate today that would free up the most value for tomorrow?